today we are actually talking on, well, for those of you that weren't here last week, actually, we talked a little bit on, it was Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 to 8, which is part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he talks about asking you'll receive, seeking you'll find, knocking I will answer. And so that was, definitely, if you've not seen it, go back, watch it. I think it could be a very, it's an awesome bit of scripture, and I think it can be very useful and very helpful for people, and something that you know that definitely helps me to implement into my life. And it was definitely looking into that to read that, open my eyes up to a lot of things. So yeah, but today I thought we'd actually revisit it, or not the same verse, but revisit the Sermon on the Mount, because I just thought, I said it last week, there's so much good to gain from that message. There's so much gold in it, and so I just felt, I wanted to go back in and get a little bit more out of some of that sermon, because really there's so much I could speak on in that. But yeah, I figured since that's what we spoke on last week, we'll stay in the same part of scripture for now, but we're going backwards by just a couple of verses. So last week we talked on Matthew 7 verses 7 to 8. Today we're doing Matthew 7 still, but it's actually verses 1 to 5. So it's the start of Matthew 7, and it reads this: "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. When do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." So yeah, very obviously this verse is talking on one thing, which is don't judge. That's the main message, don't judge. However, the type of judgment this verse is referring to is different than, like, the Bible talks about judging in lots of different ways. It's not necessarily it's not saying don't judge outright, but the type of judgment that we are supposed to do is very different. This is talking about this isn't like a just judgment. This is like judging people and like almost condemning people in a hypocritical way, like a harsh final judgment towards people. This is the kind of judgment that this verse is talking about, and it's that I'm going to be focusing on today. So what does this type of judgment look like? If someone came to me and maybe they came to me, "I want to know Jesus, I really want to come to your church," and then I say, "No, you know what, sorry, I don't think it's for you, because maybe I thought their language wasn't good enough." Or if I refuse to give someone the time of day in my own life because, well, I know you've lied about something, or you've gossiped about something. Meanwhile, I'm living my life. I'm a liar. I've lied. I've used bad language before. I've let my anger get the best of me. I've assumed the worst of this person's character based on a single action, or maybe multiple actions. But meanwhile, I'm ignoring the countless wrongdoings that I have done and still do. The start of the scripture tells us the consequences of doing this, which, if I'm honest, they're actually quite scary. It says you'll be judged in the same way that you judge others. I feel like that's something that should worry us, not in a bad, not that it's to be feared, but like a healthy fear. Because like, if we have a fear of God, which we're supposed to have, a healthy fear, like that's telling us we are judged the same way we judge others. If we are not showing grace to people, if we're not showing mercy to people, that's scary, because that's how Jesus is going to judge us. If I judge people harshly, the Lord will judge me harshly. And if I show people grace and compassion, then God will too show me those things. But yes, it's a frightening reality, but it's easy for us to fall into as humans. And even our judgment often is unspoken. It's something that's in our minds. We judge people on maybe how they dress, how they act, their personalities, how friendly they are. We can fall into this trap of judgment very, very easily as humans. However, when Jesus was on earth, he didn't judge people like that. In fact, the people that Jesus spent the most time with were the judged. The sick that people cast aside, the tax collectors that people hated. At the time, the women who were not respected in those days, Jesus drew close to people that, and not only just were close to them, but actually saw the good in them when others couldn't. When others judged these people, Jesus showed them love, compassion, and grace. The thing is, as well, Jesus had every right to judge those people, as he does with us. He is the one without sin. He does not have a plank nor a speck in his eye like we do. Yet he didn't use his time here to judge us, but to call us out and call out the best in us and to show us grace, which I think is just such an amazing. It just shows you the character of God, you know? We need to be careful moving forward that we, like Jesus, are not writing people off because of something that they have done, or that we're not condemning them when we have the urge to cast judgment onto people. We must first look inwards to ourselves. I used to love playing games like Valorant. We actually played it recently in one of the streams. And it's a game where you and a team of other people basically work together to complete a mission or objective, essentially, over the course of many rounds. These games are about teamwork, and every single player has a different role to play. Your role could be to provide cover for people with smokes to ensure your team can take the sites or the objective easier. It may be to do some recon, to spot enemy players, stay ahead of the game really, or it could be just simply to go in guns blazing to take control of site as soon as possible. Every player has a role, and if one person doesn't play it, sometimes it can make all the difference. If you've played Valorant before, you'll know that how forgiving players can be at times. When you do something that you shouldn't do, they'll make sure you know about it. If you miss a shot, you'll sometimes get cursed out. Or if you don't use your abilities maybe how they would, they'll make sure you know that they're annoyed at you. And maybe you've fallen into this as well, where you've played getting annoyed at others for their abilities to play the game how you want them to. When we feel that, how often do we look at ourselves and how we're playing? Maybe you're playing well now, but we've all had bad games. We've all whiffed shots. We've all failed to retake a site. We've all placed bad smokes occasionally. When we look at the planks in our own eye instead of the speck, pointing out the speck in our teammates, we'll find that you can actually boost that team morale as well, that confidence, and there's a chance that by doing that, you'll encourage them to also show that respect that you've shown them. We must also do this with each other in real life. We must always first look at ourselves before we can cast judgment, because if we do, I'm sure we'll find that we are maybe no better, or that we have once been where they are. And it says once you take the log out of your own eye, then you can see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. The log in our eye can really represent pride, an idea that we've got all the answers, that we've got everything right, and that they're wrong. I want to leave us with this. There's a quote that I read that really brings this part of this, like, that really sums this up quite well. I can't remember who said it, so apologies, but it says, once you've wrestled with your own log, you stop looking down on people. You see their speck through the lens of your own need for mercy, which makes you a safe person to talk to. And I think that's who we are to be. Just as Jesus was and is the safest person we have to talk to, we too should strive to be that person for other people.